Hello YouTube! Today we're going to go over a program by Kinobody that is supposed to make you look like a superhero. We're going to go about it a bit differently today because this template is technically behind a paywall and therefore I'm not allowed to share it as is. Usually I wouldn't give a fuck about such details, but the issue is that the channel already has 2 strikes, one more and it gets deleted, so I don't want to take any risk. If you want to hear more about my situation, look at the latest video, and if you want to help, check the pinned comment. Now, the reason why I decided to base this transformative work off of Kinobody's program per se is because I believe him to be quite decent when it comes to creating training templates, which is saying a lot because I despise the aesthetic movement. For the most part, they don't know how to train at all. Kinobody is an exception, and I know it's tough to believe, he looks like a complete fuckboy, but the guy does give good training advice, especially when it comes to building the upper body. So I have actually taken a look at his superhero program and realized that it's something that I could create myself for guys out there who want a certain aesthetic look. Focused on the shoulders, focused on the chest, you don't care too much about legs, about glutes, etc. This is actually going to be the program for you. So I'm going to put the modified version directly in the description. And the way I'm going to modify it is quite simple. I'm not going to touch the skeleton of the program per se because, as I've said, it's quite decent. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to modify the rep range, I'm going to reorganize the exercises, add supersets, and most importantly, I'm going to use Kinobody's ideology in certain cases and completely push it away in others. For those of you who take advice from him, you know that he loves reverse pyramid training, he loves rest poses, and he has a certain approach when it comes to progressive overload. So first and foremost, we're going to completely get rid of the reverse pyramid training. Not that it's necessarily bad, but I've explained it in the past, it can be a waste of time and it can lead to an accumulation of junk volume if used improperly. It is best to do straight sets with the same weight. If you want to go back down in weight, you can do variations or you can do back off sets. So I'm not going to use that specific methodology for this program. As for the rest pose, however, I think it has its place because it's much easier to use for one set in particular and add some extra reps without actually damaging your ability to perform on the other hard sets. So we're going to implement that specific ideology. And then for the progressive overload, Kinobody stipulates that you must increase by 5 pounds when you can hit the top end of the rep range with 4 roll. And I think that this is actually quite genius. First off, 5 pounds is a very small increase, and some can say it's too little. But I have found with time that it's always better to have small incremental increases in weight to the bar rather than doing too much and then plateauing and having to go back down in weight because it breaks down your momentum and it takes you out of the flow state. So we're going to stick to that. On top of it, the fact that he stipulates at the top of the range of motion, the top end, means that it's going to work perfectly with evolving rep ranges. And as you know me, if I make a program for bodybuilding, it's going to include evolving rep ranges. And the full range of motion I also like. Too many people tend to let their form go to shit and think they made progress. They didn't make progress, they started to cheat on what they had previously decided was their standard. That's bad. The first rep needs to look like the last rep when it comes to the distance that you actually go through. I would even go as far as to say that speed-wise, it must remain the same. This is something that I will discuss at some point in another video, not for today. So let's get directly into this superhero program by Kinobody and natural hypertrophy. So the first day is going to be a shoulders and back day. Now, technically these two muscle groups don't really go hand in hand. I don't like that type of split, but there's still a way to make it work. So to open the day, we're going to start with weighted pull-ups. It can be chin-ups, it can be pronated, a neutral grip if you prefer, I don't care. Take the one that you like the most. And the rep range for this one is going to be a 5 by 8. So you're going to do 3 sets of 5 to 8 reps. That way you get a ton of volume, but high intensity reps. And for this one in particular, you are going to do a rest pause for the last set, where you wait 15 to 30 seconds and then you crank out as many reps as possible. You will also superset these weighted pull-ups with either abs, calves, or neck. The program originally did not include neck, and I think that is a big mistake. Superheroes tend to have thick necks. So pick the one that you want to superset with it, and keep in mind that I'm going to give you the chance throughout the program to work these muscles. So if you pick neck, for example, there is a chance that the next time I open a window for you to work these muscles, you might pick a different one. Then we follow that up by a barbell seated press. For this one, you can do something like a 6 to 10, and we're also going to do 3 sets. And you're going to superset that with a dumbbell bent over row for something like 3 sets of 6 to 12. You will notice that I am not writing the rep ranges in the description directly, and that is because A, I want to make this skeleton more blank for you guys to actually decide what rep range you want. And 2, if you absolutely want to stick to what I believe is the best, you can just listen to the video and write down the rep ranges as we go. So for this one, you're going to get your pressing motion for the shoulders supersetted with upper back work. Something that I really like with this program, and something that Kinobody understands, is that it's very important to do a ton of upper back work if you want to see growth. Volume is absolutely key for that muscle group, and frequency is as well. So if you can train it every single day, it is a good thing. And the same goes for presses. You want big shoulders, try to press frequently with a lot of reps. This barbell seated press is going to contribute to getting bigger shoulders over time. The day for the shoulders and back day is going to be concluded by a superset of dumbbell incline flies, 12 reps, 12 to 15 reps for 4 sets, plus a superset with cable lateral raises, 10 to 15 reps for 4 sets as well. So this is a superset that I would like you guys to keep in that order, because you will find that if you do lateral raises followed by flies, especially if it is with dumbbells, it can actually make it tougher to go through the range of motion because your shoulder is going to be tired and therefore it's not going to be as stable. It can even help towards developing tendonitis in the rotator cuff. So always start with the chest movement and then the isolation of the shoulder. And this is going to be a nice conclusion for that day. This should be fast, meaning that I'm still sticking to Kinobody's ideology of in the gym, out of the gym within 1 hour to 1 hour and 30 minutes. The beauty of that type of program that hyper focuses on the upper body is that since you don't train the lower body as much, it opens a ton of recovery windows, and most importantly, it means that you won't be as tired overall, because if you train legs, like I train legs every 2 days, that is a ton of fatigue that you accumulate. But it does not mean that you're not going to train those quads and those hammies. You still train them on Thursday. Thursday is the lower body day, plus abs. As you know me, I don't really like to have only one day for abs, so that's why I put abs on different days. You open that with a Bulgarian split squat. Now you could ask me why not a squat? Well, it's because if you know Kinobody, he has a certain philosophy regarding leg development. He believes that squats are going to develop the outer sweep of the quad, and he doesn't like the look. I love the look, but I understand that some of you guys don't, and therefore it's true that unilateral leg work is going to avoid that. It's going to put more of a bias towards the VMO, and therefore it's going to balance the leg in a different fashion. So you do your Bulgarian split squat, 12 to 15 reps, and you can do 3 to 4 sets. Here it's an evolving set range as well. It opens a wide range of volume opportunities for those of you who might want to work the legs even more. And you're still going to apply what I told you for the previous strength work on the Tuesday. You're going to do a rest pose on the last set. And then as a superset here, we're going to do neck in particular. So I'm not giving you the choice. It's not abs or calves or neck. You do 15 to 20 reps. You can do neck curls. Any type of movement for the neck in every direction is going to be welcome. You only train 3 days a week for this program. So if you decided to train neck every day, as long as you manage volume and recovery, you will be just fine. So that is your movement for the glutes and the quads. Now we move to the hamstrings and the lower back with Romanian deadlifts. The fact that Kinobody made the program and implanted Romanian deadlifts by himself proves that most of the things said about the guy has nothing to do with his programming abilities, because even as someone who apparently doesn't like to train legs, he still understands what lifts are going to be good and which ones are going to give you the most bang for your buck. RDLs are absolutely amazing, and if you don't want to deadlift, you should do RDLs instead. 3 to 4 sets, and you can do 6 to 12 reps, all right? Because it's going to be your one heavy hip hinge. It's the only heavy hip hinge you do in the entire program. So you can actually go to failure, you can actually push yourself. And then you want to superset that with leg extensions. The leg extension works the quads. It's not going to take away from your ability to be performant. 4 sets of 15 to 20. Go high in the rep range when it comes to leg extension. Leg extension, again, that is going to work on developing the VMO, but is also going to give you some nice quad volume, so you're not going to look like a complete DL. It is true that most superheroes, if you look at Superman or Batman, they're very upper body heavy, but they still have some form of leg development. They don't work on 2 canes. So it's still important that you hit these reps. And then you're going to do some dumbbell calf raises. You can do 15 to 20 reps as well of 3 to 4 sets. I think that for the entire leg day, it's good to be between 3 to 4 sets. And some hanging leg raises or ab rollouts using a barbell or using whatever type of implement that you want. This way you can rotate the ab variation, will bring some variety to the program, and also allow you to hit the abs in a different fashion. It is absolutely important and key, you do not skip your ab workout, okay? Here, because the program is scheduled like this and it makes the most sense, I'm having you do it at the end of the training, but superheroes tend to have very developed core. It's part of the aesthetic. Do not just do your RDLs, get tired and leave. You absolutely have to do your ab isolation. So this is going to be your calf and ab workout for this day, for the Thursday, that you're going to be doing every single week. But because I'm sprinkling a bit more volume for abs and calves in other days as well, we're not falling into the pitfall of the bro split. And then for the last day, you're going to focus on chest entirely with some arms development as well. So for the first exercise, you're going to do an incline press with a barbell or with dumbbell, whichever you like best. For this one, I like 3 sets of 6 to 10. We focus on intensity and quality reps. And just like with the rest of the strength work, the last set is going to include a rest pause system to add additional volume to the lift. And you're also going to superset that with abs, neck, or calves. In this case, I recommend abs. Neck is also possible if you've recovered. Keep in mind you can do the 3 also, because you're going to do your heavy movement, and after that you want to rest between 3 to 4 minutes. That's plenty of time to hit calves and neck, or neck and abs, all right? And then we follow that up with seated machine row. For this one, you can do 3 sets, you can do 10 to 12 reps, and it's going to be supersetted with bench press. A bench press that in this case, I recommend you do with dumbbells, just so that you can avoid any type of shoulder issues that would come with always pressing with a straight bar. It's up to you entirely. You can also use a cambered bar, whatever type of bar, a football bar also if you so wish. As you can tell, this is going to be a ton of work for the chest, but I believe that we're still within the range where it's acceptable. You're doing 6 to 7 total sets for the chest, and the incline press, even though it does hit the chest, doesn't hit the lower portion as hard as a standard horizontal press would. So you're still Gucci here. For the bench press, you can do 3 sets of 8 to 10, 6 to 10, it's up to you. 8 to 10 is a bit more conservative because the window of reps is much smaller. It's a superset, it's an antagonistic superset with the machine row. So for this one, it's an example of a superset that can be flipped. You can start with the bench, you can start with the row, whichever one you like best. And this is going to greatly complement your upper body development, right? The torso has been hit pretty hard on that day. Now you have the additional and optional lift of 1-arm cable rows. If you want, you can do 4 sets of 10 to 12. As I told you, because the upper back can absorb a shit ton of punishment, it is really something that can be added with no additional recovery cost. It's not going to damage your performance. So since you only train 3 days a week, and this is the last day of the week before you train on the next Tuesday, you can allow yourself to do that. And then it's going to end up in a giant set with dumbbell incline curls and rope triceps push down. Incline curls, stay conservative. You don't want to bounce the rep at the bottom like I see so many people do. So maybe 3 to 4 sets of 6 to 10 can be good, maybe even 6 to 8 if you want to be very safe. And then the tricep pushdowns is the opposite. You can swap them with something like a French press or a skull crusher or even any type of behind the head tricep extensions, because if you look at the program, you notice that there is no direct long head of the tricep work. It's part of the Kinobody aesthetic. Some people are going to want that for a medium arm, a bigger arm. It's also true that there is no forearm isolation. If you want something that is more complete, you can look at one of my programs. This is a crossover, and at the end of the day, if you want a superhero aesthetic, it is true that you're going to have to sacrifice on certain body parts to put more emphasis on others. So for the rope tricep pushdowns, you can do something like 3 to 4 sets of 15 to 20 reps. The goal is to go as high as possible in the reps without falling into irrelevant intensity windows and not just going for the pump, but also going for mechanical failure. And that actually concludes the program. Now, the reason why I say that this is a good program for novices and intermediates alike is because it's only 3 days. And it's important to keep the training frequency low for people who are just getting started. But as you can tell, the volume is much more than your average novice program. And most importantly, it is an actual bodybuilding program. Is why I gave Kinobody some props. Even though he might be a little bit lackluster on certain aspects of programming per se, he still understands that you have to isolate certain body parts to make them grow. And most importantly, you're going to have to throw more volume towards presses, for example, if you want to make a balanced physique. If you end up with a guy who squats 3 times a week and he squats as much as he presses, guess what? You're going to end up with someone who is going to be in balance for the most part, a very big lower body and a lacking upper body. And that is simply not aesthetic, regardless of your perception of what aesthetics is. Maybe you want to go for that frog physique, I don't judge. But if you want that superhero physique, apply the modified template I made for you in the description. I modified it to make it faster, to make it more effective with supersets, adding some sets here and there to make it more seamless and to also make it more balanced. But for the most part, it's still in line with his philosophy. I'm going to leave you with that. Train hard, train often, and I will see you next time.